So let's go to part 2 of Dubai relocation manenos. From interview to yes, I am ready. Hey fam, so in my last post, I shared how I got the life-changing call and the journey to preparing for my first interview with Emirates Group. But I left you on a cliffhanger. I didn't tell you about the outcome. Grab a cup of tea and let me take you through what happened next. The interview process was a no walk in the park. It was thorough, challenging, and incredibly exciting at once. There were 3 stages: written, face-to-face, and the all-important final call that will change everything. Are you here with me? Are you following? If you're excited, subscribe, follow me, and know about my life in Dubai, my life in my business, my life at home, back in Nairobi. All these things, I'll be bringing them all to this channel to give you hope as well. Those who are just starting out, to give you assurance that all will be well according to what God has planned for your life. Okay? Now let's go to the interviews, a journey of hope. The first stage was a written interview where they tested my knowledge and ability to communicate effectively. It was nerve-wracking, but I reminded myself that I was prepared. The key was to stay calm and focused, because I just didn't wake up and go for the interview. I had been preparing, and I also had certificates to prove that I have knowledge in aviation industry, especially cargo handling. So the next, I stayed calm. So we went for the interview, the written interview. I already mentioned how many people were in that interview. I knew none. I only knew one person who met me there, and he was a workmate of mine at Signal, and he lied that he was there for something else, but he was there for that interview. Because in Signal, he had a higher position than me. I was just newly there, but he had been in Signal for many years. So he had a higher position. When he saw me there, he didn't know that I had also the qualifications, and I also had come for the interview. And the ladies there were only, I think, 6 or 5. The rest of 100 plus people who had come for that interview were men. And they knew each other. I knew nobody. I knew nobody. That's why I usually tell you, God works in different ways. When you put your heart, when you put everything in God's hands, He works out for you. He will do everything to make sure that you go in line with the plans He has for you in your life. So I knew nobody. And this interview had more than 100 plus people. Majority were men. And most people know that ground handling it's a man's job. I remember years back, I'm sorry to derail you a bit. I remember years back, my brother, by then he was district officer somewhere in Maraland, and he had friends because he had been at the University of Nairobi, so networking. So he had friends who had clearing and forwarding companies. So he sent me to one of them here at Nairobi, in Nairobi office. I think they had an office. I can't remember which building because it's been years. So he sent me there, and the first thing these guys asked me, do you think you can lift anything? You're a lady, you're young, I don't know what. Before he even did interview for me to know whether I can do anything, he already dismissed me because I was a lady. It's very unfair. And that's why IATA always is promoting 30 by 25 by 25. Something like that. I don't know if it's 30 by 25 by 25 or 25 by 25. I've forgotten, but I think IATA is promoting equality. Gender equality in the aviation industry, especially cargo handling. Because cargo handling, some of it at the ramp, it's manual, but we can still work because we have the qualities, okay? So the first one was written interview, mostly knowledge-based, as assessing what you know in aviation, especially cargo handling. That meant that you had to go through dangerous goods. You had to know special handling of special cargo, which is human remains, perishables, something like that. I don't want to go into details because some people who are watching this interview are not so much conversant with the jargons in aviation, so I'm not going into that. So that was general knowledge all around about what you know in aviation industry, especially about cargo handling. That was the first interview. The second interview, and then we went home. Before we went home, after finishing that written interview, were informed that we will receive a call around 4 o'clock of that same day. So if you receive a call, that means you've passed the interview. If you don't get a call by 4 o'clock, it means that you didn't get the interview, and so you need to forget about it. You should have seen how anxious I was. I said, oh my God, am I going to make it? And that time, guys, I had not even thought about Dubai at all. I wasn't even thinking that I would be selected. That is how faithless I was at that time about this particular job, because I had applied January of that year. This interview, when was this happening? I think October or around November there, I think. That's how many months had I waited. And guys, before I even got a job in Signal, I had knocked on so many offices in Nairobi City looking for a job. And every time, people will say, no, you're either overqualified or you are a lady, you cannot do this job. Okay? So when I went to this interview, I knew, maybe I'll get the same treatment I've been getting. So I forgot about it. I went home. It was on a Sunday. I went home, I slept. Exactly 4 o'clock, I received a phone call that had aced the interview and I should prepare for the next day for this face-to-face interview. And the next day was on a Monday and it was scheduled for 11 o'clock. And I was going to work. So what did I have to tell my manager? I went in the morning, dressed so well with my papers. Everybody knew, oh my God, this lady is going for an interview, because I had dressed in a different way. Yeah, I was smart. I'm always smart. But I had dressed a different way, meaning that I was prepared for that interview. Come rain, come sunshine, I was going for that interview. So I asked my manager by then at Signal to give me time to go to town and then I'll be back. So he gave me time. I arrived at Grand Regency exactly at 11 o'clock. I went for the interview. It was a face-to-face. I still remember sitting there, butterflies in my stomach, trying to put my best foot forward. The panel was professional but warm, and they asked questions that really made me think about how my skills aligned with their expectations. And then the moment of truth came. They asked simple things. They asked, how are you prepared to relocate to Dubai? Have you talked to your spouse? Have you talked to your mother? Have you talked to your father? Have you talked to everybody around you who will be affected by your relocation to Dubai? How much do you know Emirates Group? How much do you think you are eligible for a pay? Guys, you know that mind that you're here, you are in your environment, your comfortable zone. Have you ever thought about being paid in dollars or in dirhams or in whatever currency that is not your currency? Have you ever thought about that? It's very important for you to do that research. Before you go for any interview, make sure that you research the currency of that country that you want to relocate to. And also research on accommodation, research on the living conditions, research on social, economical, everything about that country, so that when you're negotiating for your salary, you know exactly what you're talking about. Because the employer who's looking for a job is looking for cheap labor. Let's be frank, let's be truthful to the T. When an international employer is looking for employees in a different country, they are looking for cheap labor. That is the truth of what we don't want to talk about. And even though they're looking at knowledge, but mostly it's about cheap labor. You might be qualified, but what you're being paid is peanuts. So be prepared to negotiate for your salary. Negotiate for your salary because you're worth of that salary. That's why they came looking for you in your own country. Negotiate for that salary so that you get better pay, better benefits. If you don't negotiate and you're given, then you convert it into your own country's currency, my friend, your currency might be lower than that country, and then you're being paid. You reach there, you cannot afford even your own house. Then you start sharing bed spaces. Then you start complaining. Then you go into depression. So make sure you negotiate for better pay, better benefits. That's my advice for you today. So that was the interview. Now the third interview, which is the moment of truth was that final call. I told you there were 3 things that I went through: the written interview, the face-to-face, and now the final call from Dubai. And when we went for the second interview, actually, we were told that they would respond to us after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, they'll respond to us. If you've passed the interview, then you will be considered to relocate. If you don't pass the interview, they will not call, they will not tell you anything. I left it at that. I went home. I knew I'd done my best, and I knew that if that call comes, I will be prepared. So I went back, talked to my spouse, talked to my children. By that time, they were very young. I don't remember talking to them actually because they wouldn't understand. So I talked to my spouse. My sister said, wow, this is the moment we've been fearing actually. What if that call comes? What are we going to do? Are we really prepared to separate now? Because distance relationships, my friend, which I'll cover in a different interview, it is a different journey. It's a different journey. It tests your patience, your faithfulness. It tests you so much. So I will talk about that in the next video. But that final call came. It came about 2 weeks, and the call I will never forget. The voice on the other side said, "Congratulations, Joy. We are pleased to offer you the position. Are you ready to accept the job?" I could feel my heart pounding. This was it. The opportunity I had prayed for had come. Without hesitation, I said yes. Follow me in the 3rd part of this series because it's getting juicy and very informative for those people who are looking for international placements for jobs, corporate jobs, jobs that you know you're qualified for. Not just jobs that you know you will grow your knowledge, you'll be better than how you first joined the group. Okay? Cheers, guys. Let's meet on the part 3 of this. Bye.